Thanks for joining us this morning at Christ Church of Flagstaff. Today is Sunday, August 29th, 2021, and we're so glad you're here. Before we dive into the sermon, just have a couple of things I'd love to share with you. On September 12th, we'd love to have you join us for Next. Next is a place for you to come and hear about questions that you have about our church, find out how you can get more involved, or even just the next step in your own spiritual journey. Come and join us at 8:30 in the morning at the 8:30 service on the patio. There'll be coffee, there'll be snacks, and we'd love to see you at Next. If you're new with us this morning, we would love to have you stop by the New Here tent, which is right outside. It's a big teal tent. It says New Here right on it, and there's a bunch of people standing underneath it who would love to help you with whatever it is you need help with. No question is too small, and plus they've got a free gift for you, so be sure to stop by that tent. You might have heard us talking about the new app a lot lately. If you haven't downloaded it yet, do it right now. Go ahead. It's the only time it's fine to use your phone in church. Grab that phone, download the app right now, and create a new profile. You'll have access to all sorts of information and helps that you're going to want. So download that app and create a profile now. This past Monday, we held our annual charity golf tournament, Kids for Free. It was so great to see so many of you there, and it was amazing. I was just really blown away by your generosity and the way that so many of you gave just to see our kids go to camp. So I'm just so thankful. And if you are not yet one of our financial partners, I just want to say there's a couple of ways that you can give on the screen, and it's because of your generosity that we can do all of the things that we're doing around our church.
Welcome. I'm so glad you're joining us here at Christ Church at Flagstaff. This online experience is amazing. I'm glad you're here. I hope you'll comment, participate, let us know you're there, where you're watching from. Thank you so much for joining us. We're in a series called Family Life Hacks. And here's a life hack, just a quick reminder if you have been with us. It's a strategy, a technique adopted in order to manage our time, our daily activities in a more efficient way. And so each week as we've gotten together, I've just sharing you some of the best life hacks I've found on the web. So here's what we got today. Have you ever found yourself in this situation where you open up your spaghetti? This is some American Beauty spaghetti, but you don't use all the spaghetti. Now, if you got a lot of kids at home, you don't need this life hack because you use all your spaghetti every single time. But maybe you're single, maybe it's just you, no kids, and you don't know what to do with the leftover spaghetti because the bag doesn't hold it right. It just kind of gets everywhere. Like I find raw spaghetti in my cabinet all the time. Well, this life hack, this is going to help you with your spaghetti problem. You take an empty Pringles can, mostly empty Pringles can, and you put the spaghetti in there. This is supposed to, it's not tall enough. Well, that's silly. Oh, wait, I found you got to get the tall Pringles can. Look at this one. Woo, saving the day. Okay, so you want to store your spaghetti somewhere, and you don't want to pay all that money for one of those spaghetti holders at Target from Chip and Joanna. You can put it in a party stack Pringles can. And now there's Pringles all over my Bible. Okay, that's our life hack. Free stuff. Like you're getting smarter and going to church at the same time. You're welcome. Okay, that's good. If you got a life hack, one more. I'm running out of good ones, obviously. Please message us, email me, whatever you got. I need help with better life hacks. But when it comes to our family, it's not putting spaghetti in a Pringles can, right? It's not to be more efficient. It's to be more effective. And so this is what we're talking about. We're talking about this. First thing we said is you and I have a system, a way in which we do our relationships, and we need to upgrade our system because our natural default isn't God's. God's default to you and I is grace. So you and I can upgrade our relationships, our family to grace, our system. And how we're going to do that, the thing I asked you to do, and I know many of you are doing this, and if you are, tell us how it's going. Even if you're doing it every day, but I said read Matthew 5, 6, and 7, the Sermon on the Mount, every day for a month. Because that outside input, that influence, that perspective of what Jesus said is so rich, it's so impactful. I've been doing this. And I'm seeing the difference, and people I'm talking to are seeing the difference. Let us know what it's doing for you. And then we said that our second family life hack, the thing we could do, is that we need to build secure love. We need to make sure the people around us just don't hear that we love them, but they experience that we love them. And to do that, our actual hack, our advice, was we're going to slow down. We're going to slow down our reactions, our anger, our frustrations, our interactions. And we're going to ask a question. And you see it right there on the screen. The question is, what does love require of me? And when we find ourselves, sometimes it's just the speed of life. We're not able to really make good decisions and treat people well and to show them secure love. Just requires that question over and over and over again. And one of the things that was just, for me, very impactful of what we talked about last week was this statement by Dr. Tim Kimmel, who is the originator of so much of this material in this series. He said, "Love is the commitment of my will to your needs and your best interests, regardless of the cost." Man, that's deep and that's rich. And if you weren't able to catch that last week and join us, please go back, because so much of what we talked about was wrapped around just that very simple question and that very profound statement. So here we are today, week three. Week three, here's where we're going. We're going to talk about how can you and I aim? How can we aim our families, our lives, our systems that are upgraded to grace, built on secure love? How do we aim our lives, our relationships at significant purpose? And we're really going to talk about why. What is my point? What's your point? Why are we here? What's the point of our family? What are we trying to accomplish? And before we dive in to my part of this, I want you to hear from our panel of counselors, therapists, just incredible wisdom we've been sharing with you over these several weeks, and just so much great conversation on this topic came out of what they shared, and I want you to watch this.
I think how that translates for me to work with clients is that we're going to do a lot of work on where's the foundation, what are some of the roots, and we might not be able to always get there right away, but what is your foundation that you find yourself standing on? Is it secure? Is it a little rocky? And does it need some touching up?
When we have clear purposes, I actually think that that's something that is really important, knowing who we are, knowing our vision, our mission, our purpose for ourselves and for our family beyond at times. I think if we don't know where we're headed, then we in effect will never get there, or it's very unlikely.
Yes.
So I think having some sort of sense of mission or purpose is really important as individuals, as families, helping our children to recognize who they are, who they've been, who God has made them to be, and sort of fostering that in them, bringing that out rather than laying on them what we think they should be.
Yes.
So we can have a mission and a purpose as a family and still have room for people to exist fully in who they are.
And I just think that we are all on this journey to find purpose, to find meaning in our life. And I love being on that journey with my clients. If there's, a favorite session that I could have, it's one where we aren't even especially working on a specific problem. We're talking more about how that problem fits into the bigger scope of someone's life, and how this little problem is just a piece of the bigger puzzle, and that we're finding all the pieces and putting all the pieces together so that we can have this bigger meaning, that we can aim for our overarching purpose, and that we can figure out how life's daily struggles are a struggle to get us to the place that we want to be, that they're a bigger part of our purpose in getting us to the end of the journey.
In the teen years, it's really about identity formation and them developing and knowing who they are and figuring that out for themselves. So right when they're little, we're just kind of like, oh, this is who you are. You just fit into our little family and whatnot. But when you're a teenager, right, you're starting to say like, well, do I like that? And a lot of times they will reject everything because they say, I'm different than my parents, right? I'm different than how I was raised as a little kid, right? I don't like those things anymore. It's important for us to give kids space to be able to figure some things out themselves. And hopefully we're building on that foundation that we set up when they were little of, hey, I'm a safe place for you to have these discussions, and I want to be with you in it.
Don't put too much on them. I've seen parents that want their kid involved in, 3 sports and 2 musical instruments. No, they don't need all that to get into a good college. 1 or 2 things to be active in, great, but you don't have to push too hard. And some of our parents, I think, want to push too hard.
Oftentimes we need to adjust our parenting based off of the personality of our individual child. So you might have 3 different children and you might parent in 3 different ways for those 3 different kids. Hey, that's a really good thing for a child to see, oh, you're responding to my need in this, right? So if you have a really sensitive child, like being really stern with them is probably not going to be a super helpful way to interact with them because they're going to be afraid.
And this comes from maybe some more of my young adult clients that look back on their teenage years, that they didn't know whether or not parents were proud of them or valued them or saw what they did, their accomplishments, their achievements. And so not saying that we're all like that, but I think there is a component of during the stage when they are under our roof for kind of this last few years, this is really a time to be able to kind of praise the heck out of them for the things that they're doing very well in, and to not miss those opportunities that when they're out of our home, it's maybe a little bit harder, and we've got to know a little bit more. We've got to pick up the phone and call or FaceTime while they're at college or away in another state to know more about their life. This is the time when we know their life, and we are living life with them. And so as they're getting more autonomy, as they're doing more things, let's tell them the things that I think they're doing well in.
Aim at significant purpose. That's what we're trying to do with our families. That's what the questions we're asking is, what is the point of life? What am I here for? See, we all have this need to matter. And friends, that needs to matter. Tim Kimmel says it this way, is we all have a general purpose, a specific purpose. It comes out of what we're good at and what kind of how God made us. A relational purpose. That's what we're really leaning in on this series. As well as a spiritual purpose. And so we need to answer those questions. Just for all of us, for all of our relationships. And you heard a lot from our counselors and that incredible wisdom, especially about kids and family. But listen to what Paul says. This follower of Jesus who God changed radically his purpose. He said it this way to the church in Philippi in Philippians chapter 2. God is working in you. He wants your plans and your acts to fulfill his good purpose. If you were here, I'd say his. I mean, his good purpose. That's what God wants. He wants my actions, your plans to fulfill his purpose. It's why we're here. And this life hack, I want you to understand, it really revolves around this idea. As it said in the statement, we have to aim for significant purpose. We have to point our life. You know what it means to aim, right? And you're not going to be perfect at hitting the target, but if you're pointing your life, if you're aiming at something else, you're not going to hit God's purpose. And you can't always control the outcomes. In fact, you can rarely control the outcomes. And you never can when it comes to relationships. We learn this along the way, sometimes quite painfully, but we still have to aim at the right target. We have to point ourselves and our families and our relationships and our efforts the right way, because you're aiming at something. It comes out of your system, and once we're upgrading to grace, we're building secure love. It's now time to start pointing our intentions towards the right purpose, because you're aiming at something. Have you thought about what it is? What is the point of your family? What is the role, your family, whatever it looks like, what role does it play? Can you honestly identify and articulate This is the aim of my family. This is the goal. This is the purpose. Because see, you're showing your family what your aim individually is. And often that becomes the aim of our families, is what we're wanting, what we're pointing towards, what we're striving for. Is it comfort? Is it just our own selfishness? We just want our needs met? For many of us right now, it's safety. That's our aim. That's our goal. Can we all just be safe? Can we just be comfortable and wealthy? Can we find pleasure? Can we do the things that we enjoy? And that's our aim. And all the other things we do is to find joy, to find pleasure, to find comfort. Here's the thing. Those leave us wanting. All of those purposes, they don't fulfill. They sound good. They actually might make us feel good at certain times in certain ways, but they leave us wanting something significant to live for. And friends, that's how God made you. He made you to want significance. That's why this idea of aiming for a significant purpose, it's one of our needs. Just like love, just like next week we talk about hope, you need purpose in your life. That's why every person ever born is always asked the question, why am I here? It's how God made you. See, it's not just a family goal either. I'm not suggesting you put some mantra or some, like, we're a family of rear end kickers. Like, we win. Like, we're champions. Like, no, it's not something trite. It's not some cliche thing. It's not just being successful or having a goal. Jesus said this about our purpose. I mean, I think we should just go where we've been reading, the Sermon on the Mount. Just listen to what he said, Matthew 5. Hopefully you've been reading this. If not, start. You are the salt of the earth. Friends, this is Jesus' purpose statement for your life. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything, except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. Verse 16. Listen to this. In the same way, let your light shine before others. They may see your good deeds and give glory to your Father in heaven. That's our purpose, to be the salt of the earth, to be the light of the world. That's what God's called you to be and to do, and really everyone in your family. It's even why our church family exists. Our mission statement, we say we're here to help one another follow Jesus. That's what we talk about here at Christ Church. And friends, that's actually, as a church family, it's just a picture of your family. Whatever your family looks like, it's an aim at a significant purpose. We're not perfect at it. We don't always hit it, but that's what we're striving for. That's what we're aiming at. That's our target, our true north. We don't just have a mission statement. We are on this mission to help you, to help me, to help people who don't even know Jesus yet, here in northern Arizona, wherever you are, and around the world. Follow Jesus, to be the salt of the earth, to be the salt of Flagstaff, to be the light in this spiritually dark city. That's our purpose. That's your purpose. That's our family's purpose. These are not disconnected things, my friend. And to aim as a church family, there's lots of things we could be aiming for, and there's lots of things church families do aim for. They're not all bad. But in my opinion, our leadership team's opinion leaves us wanting to aim towards feeling good about ourselves, drawing bigger crowds. Those are easy. To just make everybody who's already here really happy and comfortable, and that's easy. Well, kind of easy or impossible, but right. But even if that was our goal, to make ourselves happy and comfortable, we'd feel like we missed something. We'd be wanting more. So how do you aim at significant purpose? What does that even look like? And here's the thing. I just want to be honest. This is a really relational answer because it's a relational problem. And if God gave you the gift of like engineering, a real, black and white thinking, this might feel a little like doesn't make sense to you, but you just gotta acknowledge relationships they're not engineering problems. And I see 3 relational actions you and I can take that allow the people around us. And when I take these, the people in my family get the chance to find their purpose, their significant purpose, which is my purpose, is to help the people around me. And it helps them. The first is this: you have to affirm. If you want to point someone to their significant purpose, you have to affirm them. And some of us think to just affirm someone is to withhold the criticism and they'll be okay. And that doesn't work. And here's the other thing is sometimes I really fall guilty of this. I think I just tell everybody a bunch of nice things. See, what you have to do to affirm someone is you have to actually look for the things they do and the things they do well. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And it really struck me in my marriage to my wife, Christy. One of the things I've gotten in this habit of for maybe our whole marriage, she'd probably say so, is I find myself complimenting Christy on how she looks, not so much about who she is. And this hit me the other day, just not that long ago, about 2 weeks ago. I was snuggling up to her, and I said, Christy, you have the softest skin. Like, your skin is so soft. And she looks at me and says, you say that all the time. I have nothing to do with my skin being soft. I'm a girl. It's just soft. Like, I didn't do anything to make it soft. But you say that my skin's soft like it's some sort of grand compliment, and I should be really excited to hear it. And it's just soft. And it took me a while. Like, I was like, well, then I'll start saying it's scaly if that's better, Christy. And that's not what I said, right? See, here's the thing. Affirmation, it's not giving people participation trophies. And I started to realize she's right. Like, she doesn't do anything she takes no credit for her skin being soft. And it's not really an affirmation. It's just a nice compliment. And what I'm not saying is don't compliment people. And I'm still going to tell Christy that her skin is soft, and I like it because I prefer it be that way than the opposite. That's preferable. I hope you get this, right? Like an affirmation. What I need to be saying more to Christy is that you're really wise. Because see, I often talk to people, and maybe you're one of those people. Send her a note, affirm her. Who are her clients at her hair salon, or her friends, or people she's interacted with here at our church and her ministry where she volunteers. And almost always, I realize people are better after they talk to her, after they spend time with my wife, because she's so wise. And if they're celebrating great things in their life, she celebrates with them. If they're struggling, she gives them advice. She empathizes with whatever they need. If they're mourning, they're crying, she'll end the time crying with them. Or after she makes people's lives better. And that's who she is. And that's so much more affirming to tell someone than to just compliment the way they look or how they come across in just a fleeting moment. She's so practical and so wise. And what I watch is she does that with her friends and her clients, and she does it with our kids. She does with me. She's one of those people that for me, she makes me better. She makes me a better person and better version of myself. And I get focused more on how she looks than who she is. Maybe there's somebody in your family you need to affirm who they are, not their looks or the superficial things that are easy to compliment, and keep complimenting, friends. But number one, you want to help someone aim for their significant purpose? Affirm them. The second thing we have to do is we have to give them attention. And sometimes we correlate time to attention, And they are connected, right? Like, it does take time. But attention's a little different. Tim Kimmel in his tells a story in Grace-Filled Marriage about being in a group with several married couples. And one night, in the middle of the group conversation, one of the wives says, "My husband's having an affair." Can you imagine? Like, this is brand new information to everyone, including Dr. Kimmel, who's leading the group. As he tells the story in the book, nobody knew. And she goes on for the next several minutes describing how her husband's girlfriend, this affair he's having, and all the attention, and it's thrown in her, and she's just like going into all this detail. And he's just kind of just staring at the floor. The husband's in the circle. Nobody knows. Nobody says anything. And then she describes, I can't even imagine that scene. Can you? And then she describes that she's going to take her Suburban and run his girlfriend over in their own driveway. She's like, I'm going to spread her out all over the driveway. I'm going to run over the driver and the putter, the golf bag, and the irons, all of it. Just going to run it over till it's shattered, and then he'll have to pay attention to me. Whew. Thank goodness she was talking about golf, not an actual person, woman that she was going to run over. But maybe she's onto something. Because maybe the difference between another woman in golf to her wasn't very, very different. See, if you're going to aim at significance, if you're going to aim the people around you at their significant purpose, they have to know that they have your attention. And what she's really saying in that circle, my husband doesn't pay attention to me. I'm down the list. And she was pretty sure golf was above the list. And of course, what I'm not trying to say is you shouldn't golf. I just spent a whole day Monday at a golf tournament. The question is, do the people in your family feel like you're paying attention to them? Or is the next hunt, the next soccer tournament, the next adventure, are those more important? The next fishing trip, the next golf? What is it? Is there something or some other person that's not your family? Maybe it really is a person in your situation. What's above them? I'm not saying you shouldn't hunt, you shouldn't go fishing. None of that. That's not what I'm saying. But do the people around you know they're more important? Because what I know about my family is sometimes the thing I want to do, I need to let undone so that they know they have my attention, they have my heart. Maybe for you, the next tag goes unfilled because you spent more time at home. That might matter to someone way more than they'll ever tell you and admit. Or take your family with you. Involve them in the thing you care about. Include them in the stuff that grabs your attention, because they grab your attention, and you point them, you give them the security, the foundation they need to have their own significant purpose. What's the most important thing? Who are the most important people? Affirm them. Give them attention. And lastly, and this is the tricky one, is you and I, we have to admonish them. We have to admonish them. We have to, at times, be really careful but intentional is to help them be better. Do you love someone enough to help them be a better version of themselves? A grandson? A roommate? And to admonish someone isn't to belittle them. Because see, some of us don't get, we think, well, I tell them their mistakes all the time. I point out all of their flaws. I'm doing it right. No, that's not what it means to admonish someone. And remember, this is inside a system of grace where your love is to do their best interest regardless of the cost to me or to you. That's what we got to start with those. Those are foundational pieces that are in place. That's why I reviewed them earlier. You can't miss that. And if you're affirming and you're paying attention, now you have the opportunity to help someone get better, to grow. Some of us, we lash out in anger. That's not admonishing. That's not their best interest. That doesn't help anyone. You didn't get better the last time someone lashed out at you in anger. But when someone with grace and love, who's affirming and paid attention to you, said, hey, I think you could improve here. Didn't you listen? Didn't you grow? I know I do when that happens. And Chrissy is, again, a great example of that in my life. That's the tone she uses with me. And it makes me better. See, I don't know how you can fulfill God's purpose, aiming at significance, without moral boundaries, without guidelines. And this is where it comes into play, is the people in your family need those guidelines. They need those boundaries, and they need someone to bring them back in when they violate God's law. And we aren't talking about putting your preferences on someone. This is where we mess it up. It's not my preference. It's not my style. I don't admonish you when you're just different than me. But I have to when you're outside of God's will and his plan for your life and his best. 3 actions to help us aim at significant purpose. You affirm, you give attention, and you admonish. Do the people around you, do your family, does your family make the other families around it better? That's really the question. That's our purpose. That's light of the world thinking. So how do we put this in a life hack size? Here's what I want you to do. It's actually a really simple practice. I think you're going to like this one. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to say these words, the words you see on your screen. If you forget them or you go later, you go to our app, CCOF, go to the sermon resources notes, and in our app, you'll find this statement. And maybe it'll show up in the comments. You can cut, paste it. But here's what I want you to say. I want you to say what we read in Matthew 5:16. Let my light shine. I want you to personalize. I want you to say this out loud once a day. Let my light shine before others, that they may see my good deeds and praise my Father in heaven. Say it as a prayer. God, let my light shine before others, that they may see my good deeds and praise you. I want you to say that out loud once a day. Friends, there's so much power in us getting the why of life correct. And there's also so much power and value in saying these statements of God's word in our own voice and hearing ourselves say them. You don't have perfect aim. I don't have perfect aim. But think of what God could do with your life. Think of what God could do with your family. If you were to start to point yourselves, aim at significant purpose. That's so much more valuable. Aiming ourselves, aiming our family at being the light of the world. That's so much more important than put spaghetti in a Pringles can. And here's what I know. I've never met anyone, I've never myself experienced regret for aiming at God's significant purpose for my life. And neither will you.
Count on one thing, the same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late, working all things out, working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high, in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Lord, yes, I will. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. He won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. Working all things out. Oh, yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Lord, yes, I will for all my days. Lord, yes, I will. I choose to pray, to glorify the name of all names. Nothing can stand against. I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. Nothing can stand against. I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. Nothing can stand against. Oh, I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. Nothing can stand against. Oh, yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Lord, yes, I will for all my days. Lord, yes, I will for all my days. Lord, yes, I will.
Every week at Christ Church of Flagstaff, you and I have the opportunity and the time to celebrate and to remember Jesus' sacrifice through communion, through the Lord's Supper. This gift of life that Jesus gave for you and for me is represented by the bread, which is symbolic of his body, and the juice, which is symbolic of his blood that was given and shed for you and I. In Isaiah chapter 53, verse 5, it says this. It says, he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. See, I think it's so amazing that Jesus could take something like punishment and something like iniquities and wounds, and he can take them, turn them 180 degrees and turn them into healing, that he can turn them into peace itself, that ultimately he defeated death. The biggest obstacle that you and I face is accepting that Jesus takes death and always turns it into life. Nowhere else in our life, in our world, do we see that example of something going from dead to alive, except in Jesus. And we can trust that he always delivers on that promise, both by the example that he gave in the Bible through the gift of his son and in our lives even today, how he can take brokenness and wounds and he can heal them and give us peace and restoration. And so as we focus on that idea, may you and I remember that by his wounds we are healed. Because of the things that we deserved, because of our sin, he took on himself. He was crushed for our iniquities. And in exchange for that, he provides us peace and healing. And so wherever you are, would you join us in taking the bread, remembering the body that was given for you and I? And may you also drink the cup, remembering the blood that was poured and shed for the forgiveness of our sins. Father, thank you for being the one who was crushed and pierced and punished for what we deserve. Thank you for providing the peace and the restoration because of your Son. God, we trust you, both because of your word, in which we read of your Son's life being given for us, and also today as we experience the restoration that you continue to offer each and every one of us. Thank you for your love, and we pray all this in your Son's name. Amen.